Limitless Wrestling fans, Jon Alba and the czar of Limitless Wrestling, Randy Carver. It is another edition of the Limitless Wrestling Podcast coming to you and your ears via whatever listening device you may choose, via whatever platform you may decide upon, coming to you in your hands in real time. Randy, we're moving right along, right? Another week. Anything crazy happen?
Did I
miss something?
Nothing crazy this week. I actually watched someone break their leg on an independent wrestling show this weekend. So I want to send some thoughts out to Paul Mann, a local wrestler who had a mishap at a local show and ended up being a lot more serious than we thought it was. So that was my wild end to the weekend.
I heard it was an interesting weekend in Maine professional wrestling.
Oh, it was. A lot of injuries, unfortunately, going around on some smaller shows. So luckily, the injury bug stayed away from Twilight Zone the other night because there was some crazy shit going down. But much love to everyone hurt this weekend.
Is there any motif or message you would like to send regarding that? Because I saw there was certainly some chatter from what I could see.
There was. I mean, there was any time that, some shit happens and someone eventually will question your training as a wrestler or question if you took it right or if someone hurt you. And there's a lot of he said, she said. But, one I witnessed in person as a freak accident. The other I didn't get to see live. But, I don't know anything because I wasn't there live on the second one. So just much love, I guess, to everybody who was hurt this weekend because regardless, what show it's on, any wrestling event whatsoever, you never want to see someone get hurt. That's obviously what we're trying to prevent ever for any wrestlers because this is for some people a hobby, but for some people a job and, a career that they want to make a living at. So you never want to see that happen. So hope those guys have speedy recoveries.
Yes, certainly wish the same. But as you said, you were a little busy because it was the Twilight Zone event for Limitless Wrestling available on IWTV, which meant I got to watch the show. A lot of people I know got to watch the show. And all things considered, I'd say it was a pretty good debut, wouldn't you?
I think it was an awesome debut, and I can't think of a card that I really would have wanted on there more than this one, especially with how everything played out. A lot of surprises on this one, I think, for people, but very stoked to see such a positive reception to this. This is the first time we ever streamed, so I was very anxious, very nervous going into this one because I just don't know how that process goes. You think you have an idea, and then I just know the factors that can weigh in. Even though we tested the internet numerous times, who knows how reliable it'll be for a live stream. Just a lot of stuff that's kind of out of your control that almost feels like pissing in the wind because I know it's just stuff that I can't fix if it goes wrong. But luckily, everybody did their part. We had Jerry from IWTV, Paul, who has been just a godsend on the camera crew whenever we have him, and then Strong Style Brand with Frankie. So everyone was on the same page to get the footage out there, and we actually had a lot of viewers checking in and tweeting, and we actually got Twilight Zone trending on Twitter, which was fucking really cool to see after the night. But just a really good night all around, I think, for everybody, and I think the perfect show to have on IWTV Live to give people a real feel of Limitless Wrestling.
Now, what was it like for you? Because you did play-by-play for this show. I want to know for you, what kind of an experience was that like? Because that was your first real taste of sorry, as I fix my mic here. That was your first real taste of actually having to grind through a full event. And it takes stamina, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, but it gets, daunting after a while because you never want to be repetitive, and I know that I was a couple times, but it's also hectic because when we did have a couple internet problems, obviously those are unfortunately questions that probably no one else can answer but me of where things are and what to do or where to reset something. So during the Main State Posse match especially, I was actually talking back and forth. We had a mute button on the microphone, luckily, so every 20 or 30 seconds I'd be checking in with Jerry and we'd be shooting the shit for about 10 seconds, then I'd jump back in, or he was talking to me on the screen as well. But yeah, it was hectic when we had issues, but it was a lot of fun to do. I got to do most of the last event as well, Fresh Blood, and I've always really wanted to commentate these shows, but just for a while, the layouts of the shows were hectic in a way where I felt like I was needed in other places at the time, or I just didn't feel it was right because I felt like something may go wrong. So now we're getting to a point where we have such a good crew and really a core roster built up of a lot of members who understand, how to conduct themselves in a locker room, where everything is, what they need to do. So in that sense, it's a lot easier to pull myself away and not have to be so hands-on during the event, where I can commentate some, if not most of it.
Did you have a production meeting or anything beforehand?
We didn't. Johnny Torres, who called the majority of the show with me, and I had a couple talks throughout the week, and then we met up earlier in the day to just kind of get on the same page about everything. We did have a couple commentary switches. AG called a couple things with me.
I'm just saying I'm surprised because like you were pretty, and take this for what it is because I'm actually complimenting you here.
Wow.
You were pretty smooth transitioning from match to match, and then they're showing the card, and you were pretty. That takes practice. That's not something that comes inherently to most people.
Yeah, but I think, like, I don't know, it's not super different than us chatting on the podcast or an event center or anything of that nature. You know what I mean? Like, and honestly, a lot of that's Jerry. Like, I did not expect the graphics to be shown in between matches. That was all Jerry making that happen and even thinking of that because I didn't think of it. He also attached the event center on the front of the show so that any new fans checking in, if they checked into the stream early, they could get a feel for the night's card, which I thought was really cool. But no, we didn't have a ton of stuff that we went over. I mean, we obviously knew that we were going to have to fill more space than usual because typically if we're not live, the commentary is only going to be pretty much bell to bell and then calling anything that does happen after the bell. It's not going to be for the entrances because we can't include those on DVDs because we don't own the copyrights of the music. So there's a lot more time that you have to fill in. I think I was really feeling it with the Scramble, and that's I don't know why, but I was running out of shit, even though like we had a bunch of notes in front of us. And then once the action picked up, it was right back to normal. But there were a few times where I caught myself just kind of in, I don't know, Dumbo mode, but we got out of it.
Yeah, I think I'm going to make you an unbelievable t-shirt. That was your go-to word.
Yeah, I know
there were
it was.
a lot of times. There was a lot of unbelievable things on this show. So
yeah, there was.
So hopefully we can bring things to be a little more believable, and that way when they become unbelievable again, it'll really mean something. But it was good stuff. I thought the show looked good. It looked big league, and that's important, man. That's an impressive operation they got over there at IWTV. So
they really do, man. It was just flawless, and it was not anything that I had to worry about other than the internet connection. So that made my life 10 times easier.
So it was only apropos that the IWTV Championship was on the line to start off the show. Warhorse and John Silver. I was a little surprised this was the opener, but I thought it worked. It was a fun match to start the show. Crowd was into both guys. John Silver not having the hottest of days in Limitless Wrestling this time around.
No, since breaking off from the thick boys of Jay Freddy and their protege Puff, John Silver has not won a match. So it's been a tough summer into winter for John Silver. He's had consecutive losses against Warhorse, now Layla Hirsch, DL Hurst, just to name a few. And, it's tough because John Silver really earned this opportunity with impressive performances in Limitless beyond to just, anywhere that he's been, AEW as well. And, falling short again, it's moving him down the ladder in Limitless Wrestling. But what a return for Warhorse, who has such a fan following, very reminiscent of Danhausen, where it's someone who we did have on a previous show. Warhorse made his Limitless Wrestling debut at Feed the Need in May of 2018. And a lot of people, I don't think they realized it was the same guy as Jake Parnell, a year and a half ago. But regardless, this guy has such a fan following, even though he hasn't been up here in a year and a half. Got an amazing reaction coming through the curtain, which sometimes, you never know about when it's a guy who, they're very popular on a platform and in the Midwest area as he is, but he's not really up in New England very much, periodically for Beyond Wrestling, but not a lot. So really cool to see that the fans took to him extremely quickly and extremely hard throughout the match. And they were stoked to see Warhorse. And I think we're definitely going to see more of Warhorse in Limitless Wrestling in 2020.
Yeah, and it was cool to have the title on the line here too. Just added a little something extra special to it. I do wonder what's next for John Silver. I'm not really sure because you have all those consecutive losses, and we always talk about on this show, what do you have to do to put yourself knocking on the door? John Silver's nowhere close right now.
He's not, but I can tell you that we got some cameras that caught up with him post-match, and there was a challenge laid out that's pretty interesting, Jon Alba. So that's going to come out here within the next few days. So be expecting that. And I think we've got a match set up in January for John Silver that some people are going to be pretty excited about.
Do I have to dust off Miami? John Silver likes Miami.
Jesus. Does he really?
Yeah, he does.
Does he put you over for the Emmy?
Chris Dickinson was the biggest fan of the Emmy. No doubt about that. Chris Dickinson.
Chris
Dickinson.
I can see that.
Chris Dickinson took a picture and posted it to his Facebook of him holding the Emmy Award. So
that's amazing.
Yeah. The two most excited pro wrestlers I've seen about the Emmy, him and Rene Dupree.
Rene was a big fan,
Rene Dupree lost his mind. Maybe because he walked into Cityside Restaurant and that's not what you expect to see at Cityside Restaurant.
No, definitely not.
It's very possible. All right, I want to talk about this match a lot. I tweeted about him earlier today as we taped this. I'm so incredibly high on him right now. It's Christian Casanova. He defeated Myron Reed. This match was awesome. Two just superb athletes mixing it up in there. I was a little surprised this match didn't open the card, to be quite frank with you. But it had a good spot. The crowd was into it on all ends. And Christian Casanova, man, this was the night of Christian Casanova. He had his biggest night to date in Limitless Wrestling. And how can anyone deny what is ahead of this guy?
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think the biggest night in Christian Casanova's Limitless Wrestling career. Obviously, we'll talk more about him later in the night, but another incredible performance. And this is a big test for him against someone as really agile and athletic as Myron Reed. And fuck, man, I love watching Myron Reed wrestle. It's insane.
He's so athletic and he just flies. It's like every movement, there's nothing wasted and it's so seamless.
I legitimately sat there and it was like I was, back 10 years ago watching, or maybe like 7 or 8 years ago watching a young AR Fox do his thing. You know what I mean? Like it just kind of set me back and just, he's really like a one-of-a-kind performer. He's another guy. There's a few on this card, but I can't wait to have him on future shows because, honestly, I'd love to run this match back again. I feel like they had – a few people said this, but I feel like they had amazing chemistry, and I feel like they could do so much more as well if put in more match situations. So definitely want to get Myron Reed back. But as you said, huge win for Christian Casanova, potentially his biggest yet. Easily
his biggest yet, I'd say, because – of what it would do for him later in the night, which we will get to. But I want to talk about Christian some more, man. We put him over pretty consistently on this podcast on a weekly basis. But here's your chance, Randy, as the promoter, pitch this guy to all the other big-time players out there, why this guy needs to be on their shows. Because if you don't, I will.
I mean, I don't think I have to pitch anything if people would give a half hour, 45 minutes of their time and watch a few matches. I think that he does all the talking in the ring. He's a great performer. I'm so biased because I felt like we didn't get to do a ton with it. I loved the fucking pairing of him and Stokely Hathaway.
Oh my goodness.
I just thought that could have been so much fun in like an Evolve setting or an MLW setting. Honestly, it'd be good in a NXT setting, but
who knows? Maybe one
who
day.
knows? I truly think that potentially 2020 is the last year we're going to have with Christian Casanova, depending on where he goes, because it's a matter of time. And he's just another, great fucking wrestler to come out of the New England Pro Wrestling Academy. And he's really found his thing. And I wasn't sold on the Killanova thing at first. But once he really like nailed everything down with this, and he's got the group in Chaotic Wrestling with Tasha Steeles and Triplicious and Royce Bishop that I think is really cool. He's clicking on everything right now, everywhere he goes, and he's doing different things. He's wrestling a lot of new people lately as well, and it's only making him better. So
I've got a point to make about him, which I will bring up later. And if I forget, ask me what the point that I had to make was. Okay.
Okay.
Because I forget a lot of things. Okay. All right. third match of the night. So JD Drake comes out. He was supposed to face Dan Moff. Dan Moff, unfortunately, had a death in the family. He was unable to make it. We'll touch base on that in a second. But as JD Drake is running his mouth, taking some shots at the crowd, but also kind of feeding into the crowd, it was a very Mick Foley thing to do. Out comes Alec Price, a guy who you've given that endorsement to. You're high on this guy. I'm not sure how the crowd felt with him coming out initially. It sounded like they all thought this was a very bad idea for him. But he comes out, and to his credit, held his own with one of my favorite guys in all of pro wrestling, JD Drake. And Alec Price, man, another guy proving that he belongs. What did you think of Alec Price here?
First of all, bonus points for coming through the curtain with Eric Greenleaf by the ear.
Well, that was probably my favorite part of the entire night.
But truly, just as this was Christian Casanova's biggest night in his Limitless career, this was Alec Price's as well. One of the biggest moments of his young professional career so far. Only been wrestling a couple of years out of the Bell Time Club in Massachusetts. We've talked about him before. He's put in so much work because he's a guy who stepped into Let's Wrestle at the top of this year in January, and he was a late addition to the Let's Rumble. Almost didn't get on the card. Honestly, showed some good things in the Rumble, and he was put over by half the roster. Always rode with Brandino, always helped out. So he'll kill me for saying that he helped anybody out, but he just kept showing up and helping out, and he doing his thing, and he got a spot in a couple scrambles, and as you know, that's how it starts for a lot of people. And those good showings led to numerous matches with CJ Cruz, culminating with a last man standing match. And if you want to check that out, youtube.com/Limitless Wrestling, it's up for free. But he's really earned this position on a Limitless Wrestling show. And a lot of people knew he was scheduled to be in the Scramble once again on this night. And instead answers JD Drake's challenge and really just, as you said, proves he's so tough. He proves the toughness and the relentlessness and I don't know, maybe the overzealousness that he possesses.
Perhaps he got in his own way a couple times, but still, it takes balls to go in there head to head, and he didn't hesitate. He did not hesitate. He marched down to that ring with his lackey, Eric Greenleaf, which an appropriate role for him, and he showed up, man. He showed up. It is so much fun to week in and week out on this podcast talk about how some guys on this roster just want it. And Alec Price wants it.
Yeah, I was proud of Alec, man. Like, it's just a pretty feel good thing. And me and Danny were talking about this too, because he's just a dude who was showing up and helping out truly at the very, ground stages of Let's Wrestle. And we got to see him progress throughout the year, and we're able to put him in some new situations with the rivalry with CJ Cruz with that last man standing match. So to see how far he's come and just the work that he's put in is really cool. So this is one of my favorite matches of the night. I definitely suggest checking it out because just a really fun match that a lot of people were talking about.
Let's talk about Dan Moff. So he had a passing in the family. Obviously, we send our condolences and wish him nothing but the best.
Yeah, I'd love to clear something up with that just because I saw a couple tweets. People were curious about, what had happened because he still appeared. We announced it on a Tuesday, which is when I was told. And then he competed on a show on a Wednesday and a Saturday. So some people were scratching their heads, asking some questions. I just didn't want to throw this man's personal life completely on the table, while this, Thanksgiving, this shit's fresh. I never want to disclose anything I'm not supposed to, but the funeral services were on Friday for this past family member, which is why that was the select date that he couldn't do. I just want to clear it up.
But, I mean, come on, people. Let's be smarter than that.
Well, here's the thing. No, because I understand people asking, promoters are the fucking worst. So if people don't know who we are,
I understand, but you've also been tremendously transparent through the years with people.
Correct. But not everybody's like that. And I understand that people think like that. So I just want to clear that up so we're all on the same page.
That's the one thing that I love about this podcast. I don't think you're going to hear transparency like this in any other promotion. Like that is our selling point here, people. This is what you hear is what you get. And I don't think Randy has lied to mislead anyone on this. So, yeah. So obviously we send our best to Damhoff. Hopefully we can work something out, you think, in the future?
I do have hope that his time in a Limitless ring is not done.
Okay.
I don't have any confirmation on anything, but I strongly feel like there's at least one more match.
Okay. Well, I would love for that to happen, and I'm sure everyone else would as well.
I still want that match with JD Drake to happen. That's going to be the match if we can get him for something.
And so JD Drake said in the beginning of his little speech that he wants it to happen too. So
yeah.
So maybe we can. I know you're excited for this one, not just because of the match, but Derek Douglas, one of the Limitless Dojo products, made his Limitless debut here in the Masha Slamovich and Jody Threat match. Masha Slamovich comes away with the win here. I know this is a personal pride moment for you, so go ahead and give your props.
Yeah, I was stoked. This was his IWTV debut. He actually did referee Puff versus Mark Sterling.
Yes.
At the VLC this year, but this was the one where essentially he had a couple tryout matches and to see how he did, and he's definitely earned his spot on future Limitless shows. So it's another maybe a little less Eric Greenleaf for all you Eric Greenleaf haters. Yep. Mm-hmm. But no, I was stoked. Derek did a great job, and I think he's going to be a very good addition to the referee squad. But what'd you think of this one, John? I haven't really got your opinion on a ton of stuff yet.
So I'm not going to lie with you. I enjoyed this match, but I kind of felt that it was there, if that makes sense. They worked super hard. Dangerous spot in the front row. I can't remember. Was it Masha who went into the front row?
Yeah, well, Jody skated into the front row, and then Masha ends up dropping her on some chairs.
That's what happened, yes. No, but first, didn't Jody... Someone threw someone into the front row, and then she got dropped on the chairs.
Yes.
Someone, because there were... You mentioned on the broadcast, you're like, oh, that's what the VIP gets you. I was like, yeah, that's...
Someone skating into your lap.
Yeah. No, I thought it was good. I like both of these ladies. I really do. I did not think this was at the same level as some of the other matches on the card.
Okay. I thought it was a really good showing for both.
Mm-hmm.
I think it did establish their characters very well because these are,
That's true.
Jody Threat, she made her debut in September in the Scramble. Masha made her debut in October in the Scramble, and Jody was a part of that Scramble as well. So they've never had singles action up until this point. So this is really the first time I think the crowd is able to kind of take a deep breath and get to know these two.
But I do want to say this. They're following up a hot JD Drake and Alec Price match and Christian Casanova and Myron Reed, which I absolutely loved. And I really enjoyed Warhorse and John Silver too. So that's a tough spot to be in. But you're right.
Go for it.
No, I was just saying you're right.
I'm looking at that. This is the toughest part on a card that's structured this way because we went 5 matches on the first half, 3 matches on the second half. So the second half's going to be, bing, bang, boom, and it's going to be all fresh shit. And then that's probably the toughest, position, as you said, following that hot JD Drake Alec Price match. Then I think people kind of anticipate Main State Posse Take Me Home Tonight into intermission. Right. But I do think especially from an establishment standpoint of both these two, I think they really connected with the crowd, especially from comments that I was seeing, post event and on Twitter. So I think it really established them for, future matches in Limitless. Masha, especially because she's walking out with a victory.
Let's talk about that tag team match.
Please.
I love this match. I loved it, and I loved everything surrounding it. Anthony Green and Ace Romero defeating the Main State Posse. I have gone to war with members of the Main State Posse in the past, but that doesn't mean that I don't enjoy watching them perform. And my God, man, my God, they are just... I'm watching this match, Randy, and I'm saying to myself, I met these guys when they just started training, and they are in there tearing the effing house down. They are so smooth with everything that they do. And Danger Kid is so... What is that intangible that he has? He just has that... I'll say it. He's kind of got that Darby Allin intangible to him.
He's connectable.
He's very connectable. And Aiden Agro is as well, obviously. But there's something especially about Danger Kid. And, man, I was so proud of these guys. And Ace Romero is pissed off. He's got a vengeance. The code red from the top was nuts.
Jesus, I was holding my breath, dude.
Because
Holy
guess what?
shit.
If Ace Romero doesn't get over there, you're cleaning up Aiden Agro off that apron.
You're right.
It is not pretty. And before we get to the post-match little powwow, what did you make of the match? Because listening to you call it seems like you enjoyed it just as much as I did.
God, it was so fucking good. I'm going to blame the amount of times I said unbelievable in this match for the internet problem.
That's fine.
Because I was mad checked out for the last 3 minutes of my commentary. That's because fine. I realized that we had an issue. So this was the match, especially where Jerry's talking to me on the screen and I'm muting. And we had the internet actually go out. 100%, nothing in the building. Pulled up my phone. The router that's supposed to be there for the building is no longer there. So I'm like, fuck, I don't know what happened. And he's looking at me and has no idea either. And this was the one time I always credit the Limitless Dojo students for being right on top of everything and always available. I couldn't track one down for the fucking life of me. And I'm just trying to figure out. I'm trying not to leave commentary, but I end up having to leave commentary. So Johnny Torres finishes out that match. The router totally needed to be reset. So I think we were off for 4 minutes is what someone told me. Unfortunately, too bad, though. No, it wasn't terrible, but unfortunately it was the last 4 minutes of the match, which was a bummer because that, up to that point, such a fucking amazing match. And I got to watch it on the replay and fully take in how good that match was. And it was just so much fun. And it's so crazy, to see how all four of these guys have come because, us especially and really longtime Limitless fans have seen how far these guys have truly come in such a short amount of time. So this was, one of my favorites of the night as well. And unfortunately, we did lose the stream for that piece of it, but I think a lot of people ended up going back and checking it out on the replay because we've been getting tweets about it still today of how much people are enjoying that match. So I definitely suggest if you haven't yet, sign up for IWTV. You can use the code Limitless, promo code. Gets you 20 days free. Check out this match especially because this is just such a fun one.
I'm just waiting for the mainstay posse to get signed. I think it is not out of the realm of possibility to happen sometime soon.
I think they're the best tag team in the Northeast, bar none. Mm-hmm. And I think that they're going to be one of the best tag teams in the country next year. I think all that's missing is that big exposure. Yeah. They just haven't been to a lot of pieces of the country yet. Mm-hmm. And, it's understandable. It's tough financially to take a risk on a tag team halfway across the country from you. I understand that, but
they deliver. They deliver every time.
Eventually, they're going to be undeniable, and it's going to get to a point. I have some inside information. I know a couple big bookings they have next year, and it's going to be some pretty wild shit. So people are going to be wanting to jump on that bandwagon pretty soon. Promoters, I don't know who listens to this podcast, but man, tell your local promotion to bring them in because they're absolutely incredible. And this is the time to do it before they get, undeniable from any company.
Yeah. Well, I know we got some fans down in Philly and, fans down in Jersey, New York. Get those guys consistently in that territory every week.
Please.
Yeah. That's where you just continue to break out. I'm so proud of those guys. I'm so proud of them. But
me too.
After this match, Ace Romero grabs the microphone, says blah, blah, blah. Bet you think I'm just super happy to reunite our tag team, but I want you. And I'm coming for your title. And I want a match January 24th. And before Anthony Green can get the words out of his mouth, down comes Christian Casanova.
Picking his shot.
Christian Casanova wants in. So, a super kick later, we've got a triple threat match. First off, my point that I want to make about Christian Casanova, this guy is projecting so much confidence right now. Whereas before, and I went back and I watched a few shows on IWTV because the entire Limitless catalog's there for the most part, so you should go back and check that. And I was watching some of the stuff in the beginning of his run with the Dream Team, and he's cocky, but he's not confident. Now he's confident. You saw it in the match. You saw it in this segment. He's ready. And gun to my head, if I'm making a pick on that triple threat match right now, I'm picking Christian Casanova.
Wow. Think the rise of Casanova is going to continue.
I think his athleticism puts him at an advantage over the two guys, with all due respect to them, who are both great athletes in their own right. And right now, who's more confident than Christian Casanova in Limitless?
I mean, I don't know if I can answer that. I think both men in this match, both of his opponents are pretty high on the list.
I'd agree. But right now, what does Christian Casanova have to lose? Here's what Ace Romero
he's got a lot to gain, that's for sure.
Anthony Green could lose his title and his status as the top guy. Ace Romero is a contracted talent. He loses in this match, that doesn't look good for him. Christian Casanova's got nothing to lose. This is his chance. This is his moment. I'm feeling good about him. What do you think?
I mean, I'm excited to see this match because obviously out of left field, I think a lot of people thought we were getting Ace Romero, Anthony Green once more, but as you're saying for Christian, the biggest opportunity of his career in Limitless Wrestling thus far, and he could capitalize on it, man. This could be the run of a lifetime and get him to becoming the world champion. And I think not a lot of people may have expected that to kick off 2020, but it could be a reality. I don't know. I'm excited.
You're on commentary. You're like, well, I guess we got a triple threat. So I guess you're all down on this, huh? You're down
man.
with it?
I mean, how can I deny Christian at this point? Mm-hmm. Obviously, I think Ace Romero has been entitled to a rematch for the championship where he was never pinned in the first place. But fuck, man, I don't think you can deny Christian Casanova at this point. I really don't.
I can't imagine Ace Romero's too happy about these circumstances.
I mean, he should be happy to get a title shot regardless, I would say. But
yeah,
I can understand not being thrilled.
All right, let's get to these last three matches here. You took the intermission, and you got the crowd hot for this scramble. I said it once, and I will say it again. I see it in CJ Cruz. There is something pretty special there, and it's going to take some time for it to continue to develop, but it's there. CJ Cruz defeats Kevin Kuhn, Manders, Oswald Project, and Pinky Sanchez in a 5-man scramble. This was a really fun match. There's just something about him. And maybe it's, if you listen to this match on the show, Anthony Green is on commentary, and he obviously knows CJ Cruz very well, given their background. And he's building him up big time, and CJ Cruz delivered on everything he said.
He did. CJ Cruz is another guy, and we'll have to go through it sometime of different people who have been suggested by certain Limitless roster members, but he got here through Anthony Green. He was a product of the New England Pro Wrestling Academy, which is where Anthony Green was trained as well under Brian Fury and Max Smashmaster and Julian Starr as well. But CJ Cruz just has shown incredible growth. I saw him for the first time at Larry Huntley's NAWA in Springvale, Maine. He's another guy who started in Let's Wrestle, had great performances throughout really only this year. I think he debuted, I want to say in January as well, right along with Alec Price. That's kind of funny how that worked out. But CJ just incredible strides throughout the year, and he earned himself a shot in Limitless Wrestling at Fresh Blood, going one-on-one with Alec. Got a win there, ends up back in Limitless Wrestling, this time in a scramble on the main show, and makes the absolute most of it, defeating 4 very formidable opponents, Pinky Sanchez in his Limitless debut. I was blown away by Oswald Project. They had an amazing debut, I thought, and just crowd was absolutely nuts for Oswald. What do you think of Oswald?
I was unsure at first, but he won me over.
interesting cat. I think he'll be back pretty soon. The one called Manders, who I really liked as well. Fun sitting down chatting with him. Feels like he's just from, I don't know, Edinburgh, Maine. You know what I mean? Real cool guy. I think a lot of these folks in the Scramble will make their way back to Limitless Wrestling very soon. But CJ Cruz definitely punched his ticket to be back in January.
And getting a chance to go back through the back catalog, I was just watching some other stuff. Man, my final match there, that Scramble, I was watching it too. That match is so freaking awesome.
Oh, yes. That was when you were managing Nico, right?
Yeah, from the Vacation Land Cup.
That was one of my favorite Scrambles of all time.
That match was so awesome. It had action, it had story, it had comedy. It was great.
It really was.
The stunner cell from Austin Theory.
He went to the moon.
Harlow, it was amazing. What a great match. Even though Stokely Hathaway and I just stared at each other in disbelief as Puff brought Jay Freddy to life with a Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Man, that was primetime Thick Boys era, too. Yeah.
JT Dunn defeated Jake something.
I loved this match.
Yeah, I like this match, too. I know last podcast you said Jake something reminded you a lot of Mike Awesome, and I definitely see it.
Fuck yeah, he does.
Yeah, I definitely see it.
He's like a living, breathing Mike Awesome. He really is. But, man, it's just... He possesses such a captivating charisma.
He's got presence.
Himself.
He has presence.
Yes, my God. Like, it hit me, and it didn't hit me in his Limitless Wrestling debut, to be honest, at Welcome to the Dance. I think it was because it was a Scramble, that's what he was in. I don't think all the time, like, people who have presence or this kind of captivation about them, I don't think they necessarily get to show that off in a Scramble, and we really got to see Jake something in full effect here, and fuck, he's good, man. He's so good. He'll be back in Limitless Wrestling very soon, but JT Dunn just felt like the perfect opponent for Jake something on this night. I loved this match. It felt very not to use like another Mike Awesome reference, but it felt very fucking Mike Awesome Masato Tanaka to me, where it was just a crazy mismatch, but excellent striker versus powerhouse going at it.
They gelled.
They really did. I was such a fan of this match. This is another one I definitely recommend going and watching on the replay if you can. Big fan of both talents, and another, crucial win for JT Dunn, who's been trying to climb his way back up the ranks in Limitless Wrestling since being, surprisingly eliminated first in the Vacation Land Cup this year by Kevin Blackwood. And I would say with a big win over Jake something, he's finally back on track.
Yeah, he certainly is. I'm curious if he makes his presence felt in any way in the January show, in a way in which may put him back in that title picture.
Hey, man, if he can get a win, that's 3 in a row.
No doubt. Last creature standing, the first all-women's main event in Limitless Wrestling history. Ashley Vox defeated Kris Statlander. Things got a little crazy. I don't know if Kris Statlander, she's been doing stuff with AEW, and maybe she saw what happened with that Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley match, exposing those boards. Thought it was a good idea. Well, she did it here.
Yes, she did.
And it backfired.
Let me just point out, now that we can talk about this, Kris Statlander announced, I think officially the night that we taped this, signed to AEW. I guess Brandy Rhodes put it out there. She had a big win tonight on AEW Dynamite. Did you see that?
Yes, I did.
Most people, you'd think when their quote-unquote run on the indies is coming up for a little bit, you'd think they'd maybe take it easy.
Nope.
Or
nope.
I don't know. Fucking Kris Statlander's the best is what I'm trying to say. She's been such an excellent addition to this roster, and what a war she has with Ashley Vox once again. And if you saw the first one, you know how crazy these two got in that match. It got, 10, 15 times crazier here. It was just bizarre. It was Ashley Vox with the senton from the top through the door on the outside.
Yeah. The hook, the turnbuckle hook again.
the turnbuckle hook spiraling Kris Statlander off the top rope through a door. There was just and Kris Statlander smashing the turnbuckle over the head of Ashley Vox, cutting her open. There was a lot to take in here, and this was just so much fun to watch because it was just absolute carnage from these two, and you knew it was going to be. And this was the perfect main event for this show, man. I was so happy with it, and a big win for Ashley Vox, capping off a huge year for the Real Catch in Limitless Wrestling, and really finally putting this feud, this rivalry with Kris Statlander to rest, at least for the time being.
It was a spectacle. That is the best word for it. Ashley Vox really did have a hell of a year. And I think, Randy, we haven't discussed this off air, but just like we did last year, I think we'll probably be doing some Limitless Wrestling year-end awards, won't we?
I would, dude. It's so funny you say that. I literally thought about that on the ride home, and I was gonna spring it on you tonight.
Yeah, so I think these next couple weeks we'll spend some time getting that together.
Is this a match of the year candidate for you? Right at just off the rip. What comes to your mind? Yes or no?
Like, is it a nominee? You're saying?
Yes.
It's a nominee. It's a nominee.
Okay.
Is it the match of the year?
So.
Is it the match of the year? I don't know, but it is a nominee. Quite frankly, there were other Ashley Vox matches I think I may have enjoyed a little more.
Interesting. Okay.
And we'll talk about that as the weeks come on.
For sure.
But that's also personal bias. I've been very transparent here. I don't love super hardcore matches, but they told a great story here. There were a couple problems I had with this match at certain points, if I'm nitpicking, but altogether they really they brought this story to a pretty conclusive end, I'd say. And Kris Statlander, she'd been doing this for 2.5, 3 years, right?
Yeah, all right. So she made her official Limitless Wrestling debut November of 2017. It was a part of a studio taping we did with Beyond Wrestling at the New England Pro Wrestling Academy. And to my knowledge, she had only been wrestling like 6 or 7 months to that point. I was actually talking to Mark Sterling, Smart Mark, about this recently. Just
insanity.
Because Smart Mark is the guy who set me up with having Kris Statlander at that taping. So, I don't know if we would have been really booking Kris Statlander if not for her performance at that taping. So, Mark Sterling really got that ball rolling, which I think is kind of a cool little fact for Limitless fans.
So, Jason Worthing, we asked a couple, if people have any questions about this show, he asked, have we seen the last of Kris Statlander in Limitless?
It is tough to give a for sure answer because of how cool AEW is with people in contracts. I mean, we saw like a Joey Janela, for instance, who has probably wrestled his last independent wrestling match for a while, but he showed back up at GCW last week. So it's tough for me to say yes or no, but I think for the time being, this is probably her last appearance in Limitless Wrestling for a little bit. Obviously, she's on to a different galaxy to do some big things on TNT. But no, I think we'll definitely see her at some point down the road, but it's not going to be too soon.
You know what I was impressed with her too on AEW these past couple of weeks is that she has picked up TV wrestling very quickly.
Yeah, well, they train him pretty well over at the Creative Pro Wrestling Academy in New York. I mean, she's under the tutelage of Pat Buck, Brian Myers, VSK as well.
Yep.
And obviously they've produced some greats like MJF, Bear Country, CPA, a lot of the Shook crew as well. A lot of guys who are familiar with Limitless Wrestling.
You ever book anyone? This is just me asking off the top of my head. I don't remember anyone from the Monster Factory.
I think the only one that we had ever booked who was a Monster Factory person was Matt Riddle, and he actually
that guy
did not
did
make it to the event.
That guy did okay for himself.
He did. He did quite well. We had another guy booked. I think his name was Nick Camarado, but something ended up happening. But we've never actually had someone make it to the show from the Monster Factory.
You ever see the setup inside the Monster Factory?
I have, the lime green.
And there's 2 rings.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's cool.
A lot of mats around everywhere.
Yeah, it's cool stuff.
It looks great.
Jason also wants to know, he would like to praise and publicly request Manders and Oswald project to come back.
I will. They'll definitely be back. Manders tougher as he's out of Iowa. We'll try to set up some loops maybe with Beyond or Blitzkrieg or GCW like we did this time, but definitely Oswald project out of Albany, New York. And it's somewhat of an easier drive up here than Iowa, of course, but you'll be seeing both of them back, I think, in a Limitless ring, safe to say, in 2020.
David Leonard asked, will we see more Limitless streams on IWTV? Love being able to watch one live from Philly.
I really hope so.
I can tell you this, one of my LTG patrons watched live in the UK, so that show started, 7:30, right?
Yeah.
So that means it would have started at about 1:32 a.m. his time when he watched the whole show.
Wow.
Yes.
That's very cool. I would like to think so. I think we did pretty good numbers from what I understand. I haven't got the final count yet, but from what I heard that night, it was pretty good. I'd like to think so. And if you want to see us back, tweeting independentwrestling.tv on Twitter, letting them know, hey, we'd love to see more Limitless Wrestling cards live on IWTV. That certainly helps our cause. But they're busy, man. They're just like any other wrestler out here grinding. They kind of get booked up, and if we run, the same night as another company who's, got their date locked, it might not happen for us all the time. But I do hope that in 2020 we can set up some more, because it definitely helped grow our viewership, because these are, a lot of people they might not tune in when your show gets uploaded, but they might tune in when it's live because it's right there in front of them. So I think we definitely got a lot of new eyes on the product, a lot of new fans. So I'm excited. I hope we can do more, because I think this venue works perfect for it.
By the way, if you want to get in on that the Living the Gimmick Patreon, Living the Gimmick has a Patreon, patreon.com/Living the Gimmick, a pro wrestling podcast hosted by myself and Doug McDonald. A fun, entertaining, fresh look at pro wrestling, and patrons get a lot of bonus content. And when I mean a lot, I mean a lot. Randy can attest I'm a busy guy, and yet we find time to get that content in. This month, you are getting a watch-along of Starrcade 1997, which, of course, is when Sting defeats Hulk Hogan and Nick Patrick can't fast count, and I'm going to lose my mind.
Oh, hell yeah.
It's going to be great. Bret Hart comes in, reverses the decision, even though it was a completely fair decision. It's just beautiful.
Right up your alley.
Oh, can't wait. Larry Zbyszko versus Eric Bischoff.
That sounds enthralling.
Have you ever watched the show? I guess not.
I don't fucking think so,
well,
dude. I haven't watched a lot of WCW, to be honest.
Are you familiar with the Sting and Hulk Hogan build and everything?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And you've seen how just badly they messed up on it?
Yeah, I only really watch WCW for old, Fit Finley matches with that weird gray mullet. That's my WCW.
Hey, your boy Lance Storm starring with WWE this week.
Fuck yeah. I was just listening to his Talk is Jericho pod.
Yeah.
Good for him, man. Big fan of Lance Storm. Now he's getting paid some good money to, do what he loves to do and do it well. So good for him.
If you could be serious for a moment.
Yeah. Dude, can we tease some big information that I shared with you this week?
Okay. You're look, I was beyond amped to hear this. So go ahead, give a little tease.
If you're a long-time listener of the podcast, I guess this is going to be tough for some people, because if you're a true listener, there's a few people who have been on my bucket list for quite some time.
They just might think Gangrel's coming back every show at this point. So
there's at least 4 people I can think of who I've really, really wanted to book on this podcast, and one of those is going to be checked off in early 2020, and we'll leave it at that for now.
Can't wait. Very excited.
Oh, me either. I'm stoked. I'm so fucking excited.
And I heard it came together pretty smoothly too, huh?
Oh, really smooth. Yeah. It came together within a matter of probably 15 minutes. So.
That's fantastic.
That's how you want to do it.
Very excited. Also excited for Let's Wrestle Volume 11, When We Stand Together, goes down Saturday, December 14th in Orono. Again, this is the Mark Godfrey fundraiser show. So all that money, part of the proceeds will be going to help him out.
All the proceeds.
All proceeds. So 100%.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. How about that, folks? 100%.
Very fun card coming to Orono, Maine, though. We're helping out Mark Godfrey, as you said, a former pro wrestler in the area. He's battling kidney failure at this point. So we're looking to alleviate some of the financial stress that he's under right now after a couple emergency surgeries over the fall. But really fun card coming. The main attraction, Mac Daniels, going one-on-one with Luke Robinson.
Yeah, he is.
Coming out of semi-retirement. I love when he I want to keep him around. I'm going to try to goad him into coming to Let's Wrestle more often because Luke's fucking incredible still. Very excited for that one. That one's going to main event on this night. Also on the card, CJ Cruz going one-on-one with the Maritimes Messiah, Covey Christ. The Main State Posse collide with those damn dirty drifters in 2-on-3 handicap action. TJ Crawford going one-on-one with Channing Thomas, the first time in America that one's gone down. It happened in the UK. And then also on the show, Alec Price, Alexander Lee, Kennedy Copeland, CPA, Perry Von Vicious, Scott Wilde, Chip Chambers, and many more. Tickets, GA tickets, only $10 for this show. So definitely, if you're in the area, if you want to come check this out, I definitely suggest it. There's going to be 8 really fun matches on this card. And honestly, looking into 2020, you could be seeing some future Limitless Wrestling contenders on this show. So last show before the Let's Rumble as well, coming in January. So a lot rides on some wins for some people in this contest. They could earn a spot in Let's Rumble.
And tickets going on sale on Monday for the January 24th show, correct?
Yes. So if you're looking for tickets to Flirting with Disaster or Return to Yarmouth on January 24th, tickets on sale Monday at 7 p.m. limitlesswrestling.com/tickets.
You just don't listen to me on anything, do you?
I was taking a poll on different people between 2 names for this show, and Jon Alba picked the one that lost.
You just, I don't even know why. You asked me to give you a playlist of Limitless matches to put up. Didn't put any of them.
It's there, bro. You just blew it, though. You just blew it. I made the playlist already, but Danny's making a graphic for it that we're gonna share.
Okay,
but you just fucking blew it. So now I'm gonna post it with no graphic.
No, don't do that to me. No.
That's going to be coming in a couple days, though. So be on the lookout. Jon Alba picked out 5 must-see matches.
Are we calling this the award-winning playlist?
No. We're calling it Jon Alba's 5 must-watch matches on youtube.com/limitless wrestling. We've done a few of these so far. I think Dangerkin's done one. DL Hurst has done one as well. So
okay, well, I didn't tell people what matches are on them, so they'll get to see those.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, you never know what you're going to see in 2020 in Limitless Wrestling. You
never know.
Things could get a little crazy. Look, this is the last event of 2019. Can you believe it?
No, it's pretty crazy, to be honest.
We'll wrap the year up with Let's Wrestle, and just a crazy, crazy year. The year where anything that could go wrong did go wrong, but you pursued through it.
Hell yeah, man! That's all we can do.
And that's kind of how it went. And here's our decree. Okay, let's. This is a live decision on the Limitless Wrestling Podcast.
All right.
Spend the next week, Randy, figuring out how you want to do these awards.
Yes.
Next week we'll come back, and we'll get these nominees out to people.
Okay.
And we'll get them out there. We'll have the people vote on it, and then we'll have the award show, and that'll help round out 2019 and get us right and ready into 2020.
Cool. I'm down with that for sure.
And that's the thing, people. You got to listen to this podcast. You got to subscribe to this podcast. You got to share this podcast. Okay? That's all we can ask from you. Because the more people hear this, the more people start to care about Limitless Wrestling. And isn't that what we want at the end of the day, right? We want you to head to independentwrestling.tv and you check out the entire back catalog. You get invested in the characters. You watch some great pro wrestling and you come back for some more. And that's what 2020's got coming your way with Limitless Wrestling. Anything you want to add, Randy?
That was a good close, man. I'm excited to get going on the year-end awards. I always get really excited for that and to really see what everyone truly enjoyed most out of the year. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited to close this year with Let's Wrestle next weekend. I hope some people come out for that. And we got a lot brewing for Limitless Wrestling in 2020, so I hope people are really excited.
Fantastic. We will see you guys next time.